Greetings and welcome to another Pokemon 2019 or Pokemon Journeys anime episode review. This time I'm talking about episode 113, so let's get to it. Episode 113 begins with Quillen and his Urshifu, who are battling a Registeel in what appears to be the iron ruins of the Crown Tundra. Urshifu is clearly hurt, so even though it is also a legendary Pokemon and it has a type advantage over Registeel, the Iron Titan clearly still gave Urshifu a run for its money. So Registeel tries to attack with what appears to be Flash Cannon, Metal Claw, or Steel Beam, but Urshifu counters with Thunder Punch. Both Pokemon clash and Urshifu is able to overpower Registeel, who is pushed back. I love that Registeel's eyes then light up one at a time, in sequence, in a circle pattern, while Registeel makes beeping sounds. It's like Registeel is buffering, trying to decide what move it should use next, or it's trying to determine what just happened or how much damage it took. Registeel then tries to use Hyper Beam, which is what Regice tried to do in episode 71. But this works out as well for Registeel as it did for Regice, which is to say, not very well. Urshifu uses Close Combat to pummel Registeel before it can attack. Like seriously, Urshifu just punches the life out of Registeel to the point that Registeel is rammed into the wall. Quillen then takes out an Ultra Ball and he says this will finish it. This of course means that Quillen intends to catch Registeel, but the episode cuts away before this happens. Therefore, we don't actually get to see it. So the episode cuts to Ceres Institute, where Go receives a new trial mission for Project Mew. This time he gets to choose between two missions. The first one is to follow the 3 sacred footsteps. The second one is to catch Regieleki / Regidrago. Now when I watched this episode for the first time, I was like, what in the world could this first mission be about? But when rewatching the episode for this review, I remembered that in the Crown Tundra, you can find the 3 of the Swords of Justice, Birizion, Covalion, and the Terrakion by finding footprints left by them which are spread all over the Crown Tundra. Since the second mission centers on Pokemon that appear in the Crown Tundra, it would make sense if the first mission follows suit. Also, the mission says 3 and Sacred Footsteps, so it has to be about tracking down Birizion, Covalion, and the Terrakion by following their footsteps. Ash comments that both missions sound cool. Golden reads that this will be the last mission. This surprises Ash and it leaves Go in a state of contemplation. Now of course this is not really a surprise, since the title of the episode says that this will be the last mission. And it was said at the end of the previous mission, which was in episode 110, that there is no time to select the chasers. Sure, they did not say that the next mission would be the last, but this is something that should be expected given the circumstances. So Ash and Go should not be surprised. The narrator then reveals that this final mission will only award 3 tokens. This surprised me since I expected that this final mission would award more tokens. Go then looks at the tokens everyone currently has. This chart was shown in episode 110, so they are basically reminding us of it, especially since the narrator does mention everyone's rank and token amount. They once again for whatever reason say that Go is in rank 7, which I think is wrong, since 4 people are tied for rank 3. They all even have a 3 above them, so technically Go is in rank 4, especially since he is not even the 7th person on the list, and it just feels wrong to see the numbers above everyone go 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 7, 7, 7. Seeing the rankings makes Go realize that even if he completes the final mission, he is still not guaranteed to become a chaser, since this will depend on everyone else, on how many tokens they end up with after the last mission. Ash says that for now Go should just do all that he can do, and Go agrees. Ash then wonders what mission Go will choose. Go decides to pick the Catch Regieleki / Regidrago mission. Likely because Go probably has no idea what the first mission is about, given its vague title, especially when compared to the second mission's title, and because the second mission is about catching Pokemon, which is Go's specialty. Now Ash comments that he has heard of Regice and Regirock, but he has not heard of Regieleki or Regidrago. Ash has of course heard of Registeel and Regigigas as well, but he likely does not mention them here because the writers wanted to remind us only of the two Regis that have appeared before in Pokemon Journeys. Registeel appeared just minutes ago, so no need to remind us of it. And they don't want to mention Regigigas, so that what happens later in the episode is more dramatic. So I get why they did this, but I hate when something like this happens, because it makes it seem like Ash has a bad memory, and he forgot some of the things he has experienced, or like his brain was reset. Professor Cerise then appears and he says that there isn't much data about Regieleki and Regidrago. Go correctly concludes that Regieleki is an electric-type Pokemon based on its name, while Ash correctly concludes that Regidrago is a Dragon-type Pokemon based on its name. Professor Cerise then says that apparently Regieleki and Regidrago are related to the split decision ruins in the Crown Tundra of the Galar region. Ash says that he is getting pumped up by all of this, and he says, "Let's get going, Go." But Go says, "No, I am going alone this time." This shocks Ash and he wonders why. Go says, "I will work hard on my own goals. So Ash, I want you working hard towards your own goals." Ash realizes how determined Go is. He agrees with Go's decision and he says, "I will go train for the Masters Tournament, so you better clear the mission, Go." And Go says that he will. Now I have to say that I commend Go for deciding to travel alone this time, since this not only means that for once he will face a mission on his own without direct assistance or support from Ash, but also because Ash gets to focus on his own dream, instead of having to accompany Go on a trip that is kind of a waste of time for Ash, since the only thing he gets from said trip is the adventure of traveling to some cool place. Ash does not actually get or accomplish anything. And like in episode 110, he might not even get to do anything but wait while Go tackles his mission. So Ash's time is instead better spent training so that he can ensure his own success. The episode then cuts to the Crown Tundra, where Go soon arrives. And he says, "The future lies in my hands. Let's do this. Project Mew last mission." He then travels through the snow-covered landscape as he makes his way to the Split Decision ruins. He eventually finds the ruins and he realizes that someone he knows very well is already at the ruins. When Go approaches the ruins, he is greeted by this someone, Gary, who says that Go is late. Go wonders if Gary was waiting for him, but Gary simply says, "I don't know about that." Gary then wonders if Go thinks that the ruins are strange. Go says that they are, because the color is split in two. Go then tries to open the doors to the ruins with brute force, which does not work, but Go keeps trying until Gary points out that there are ancient symbols on the doors. Gary says that there is likely a seal on the door. Go wonders what the ancient symbols mean, and Quillen soon appears to answer the question. He says that the symbols mean a giant of rock, a giant of ice, a giant of steel. When the three giants are gathered, the door of destiny shall be opened. Now it is worth noting that Quillen says Kyojin repeatedly here, because Kyojin means giant. Quillen's voice actor, Hiroshi Kamiya, is perhaps best known for voicing Levi from Attack on Titan, or Shingeki no Kyojin. Kyojin can also mean Titan, so Levi, or rather Hiroshi Kamiya, has had to say Kyojin hundreds of times in that anime. Therefore, hearing him say it repeatedly here as Quillen felt so familiar that it almost felt like I was watching Attack on Titan. Quillen then wonders if Gary and Go know the meaning of what he just said. Gary says that the door will open if they gather three giants. For whatever reason, Go wonders what the three giants are, even though this is very obvious. Gary says that rock, ice, and steel can only mean Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. Go says that he recalls that these three are legendary Pokemon that are important for studying the origin of Pokemon as a whole, which is what Quillen told him in episode 71 when they encountered Regice. Quillen says that Gary and Go are right. He then takes out 3 Ultra Balls, and he sends out, of course, the original 3 Legendary Titans, which is not surprising whatsoever. Also, look out, Brandon, there is a new Titan Master in town. Go is shocked when he sees the Titans, while Gary simply says to Quillen, "You finally got all of them." Quillen then says that apart from these 3 Titans, there are 2 more unknown Titans inside the ruins. Regice, Regirock, and Registeel then open the doors to the ruins. Quillen tells Gary and Go that they should go investigate the ruins, but that they can only use 2 Pokemon from here on out. Gary and Go accept, and they head into the ruins. Now, I just want to say that initially, I thought that they would ignore the fact that you need to have the original 3 Legendary Titans in order to open the doors to the Split Decision ruins. However, I then predicted that Quillen might own the 3 Titans, since he encountered both Regice and Regirock in previous Project Mew episodes. Registeel was the only one that had not appeared in Pokemon Journeys, but I predicted that Quillen might catch it off screen and that Registeel might even appear in episode 113. So in the end, my predictions were on point. So as they make their way into the ruins, Gary wonders if Go has learned a little about cooperation. Go says that he has. Gary then says, "Still, having you battle Horus one-on-one at the very end. Danica has a mean streak of her own." This surprises Go, who wonders if Gary was watching that mission. Gary says, well, yeah, acting like he just sort of watched it, that he wasn't actually that interested in watching it. But he then says, "I wanted to confirm if you are someone worthy of working by my side." So basically, Gary wanted to see if he can trust Go, if he can work together with Go. Obviously, Gary does not want it to fail due to a bad partner. Go is surprised and he wonders what Gary means, but Gary does not offer an answer. Instead, he wants to know why Go wants to meet Mew. Go says that just like Professor Amaranth said, what are Pokemon? Where did they come from? The solution lies with Mew, who holds the genes of all Pokemon, and who is thought to be the ancestor of all Pokemon. Go then mentions that he met Mew when he was younger, and he wants to learn more about Pokemon, which is why he wants to see Mew again. Gary says, "Just like me then," meaning that Go wants to meet Mew for the same reasons as Gary. Go then mentions that Gary was researching everything to do with Pokemon. Gary confirms that this is true. He also says that he believes that Mew is a necessary part of said task, and that he believes that Mew will bring them closer to solving the mysteries of Pokemon. Go then expresses just how much he wants to meet Mew, and Gary says, "I am sure that you will meet it." After how much they have bickered thus far, it is weird and refreshing to see them talking with and encouraging each other like friends. They then finally get to the main chamber of the ruins. Gary notices that there are 2 statues, one on the left and one on the right, and that there are round patterns on the ground. This is a departure from the games, where there is only 1 statue and 1 set of patterns, because you can only battle Regieleki or Regidrago. You can only choose one. So it was clear here that Gary and Go would be able to battle both Titans. Go then comments that this room is suspicious, while Gary says that there must be some trick to it. This makes Go take a closer look at the patterns on the floor. This reminds him of the patterns he saw above the entrance to the ruins. He comments that these might have been a hint. So Gary concludes that the solution might be to match the pattern outside by stepping on the panels inside. He tries this and it works, since the panels he steps on light up. Refusing to lose to Gary, Go decides to step on the panels on the other side. But when he does, the panels on Gary's side turn off. So Gary concludes that only 1 set of panels will light up at once. Go, however, simply says, "Sorry, but I am going first," and he keeps jumping onto the panels. But when he is about halfway done, Gary steps on a panel on his side, which resets Go's side. Gary then keeps jumping on his panels, until Go once again steps on one of his panels, thus resetting Gary's side. Refusing to let the other one get ahead, they keep this up for a good while until they both end up exhausted. Go wonders what Gary thinks they should do, since they are getting nowhere like this. Gary suggests that they should battle for the right to go first. Go eagerly accepts the challenge. They both get serious and ready to battle. But Gary says that first, there is something he wants to try. He says that he wonders if there is a way for both of them to catch a Titan each, instead of having to choose just one of them to catch just one Titan. Go realizes that if they cooperate instead of obstructing each other, then they can sync up, which would allow them to step on the panels at the same time. So they try this strategy, which ends up working. This makes Gary and Go happy. They continue to jump onto more of their respective panels, and their strategy continues to work, since the plates remain on. They soon get to the second to last plate. Before jumping onto the final plate, Gary says that they should not let their guard down, since they don't know what's going to happen. Go simply says, "Right back at you." So they get ready to jump onto the final panel. But giant icicles soon rain down on them, and they end up trapped. The icicles are a gracious gift from Lyla, Lyla's Frostmoth, Shunya, and Shunya's Galarian Darmanitan. It is worth noting that this is the first time we see Frostmoth and Galarian Darmanitan in the anime. Now the episode cuts to commercials here, and when the episode resumes, they once again show what happened just before the break. 22 seconds of the episode are shown again. This was likely done just to pad the runtime, which is just terrible, since this time could have been used to expand and thus improve the episode overall. So Lyla says that she has a score to settle with Go for what happened at the Seam of Ill, while Shunya says that while they got Go, who is in rank 7, the real prize is Gary, who is in rank 1. Once again, they say that Go is in rank 7, which again I feel is wrong. Gary says, "So, you're just going to steal our idea, is that it?" While Go exclaims that Lyla and Shunya are not playing fair, which is something that should not surprise him. Shunya says that he and Lyla are challengers. Lyla adds that they will do whatever it takes to win. Gary says that precisely because of this, he was prepared for any unexpected situation. Go says that he too thought the same thing. Gary and Go are then freed from the icicles by Hatterene and Cinderace, who I guess were hiding somewhere in case something went wrong, though we never saw Gary and Go sending them out. This was likely done just to surprise us. Now this of course means that Gary owns a Hatterene, which is cool. Also, this is the first time we have seen a Hatterene in the anime. This makes me happy since Hatterene is one of my favorite Generation 8 Pokemon, and it looks very cool in the anime. Its eyes especially look awesome. Go then says to Gary, "Let's work together." And Gary says, "I have been waiting for you to say that." This means that Go thus finally realized the importance of teamwork, and that Gary was hoping that Go would want to work together. Lyla then says, "So, you wanted to settle this with a tag battle?" Gary says yes, but that considering that they will need their Pokemon later, they should limit themselves to using just one Pokemon for the battle. So he wonders what Lyla and Shunya think about a battle where everyone can only use one Pokemon without substitutions. Shunya agrees, and Lyla says that there is no reason to refuse. So they all get ready to battle. Lyla chooses to use her Sandaconda, while Shunya decides to use his Runerigus. Two more Pokemon making their first appearance in the anime in this episode. Meanwhile, Gary chooses to use Blastoise, while Go chooses to use Cinderace. Gary is curious of Lyla and Shunya's choices. Lyla says, "I expected that Go would use Cinderace," while Shunya says, "But I did not expect Gary to use Blastoise." Gary says that he predicted that Lyla and Shunya would use a rock or ground type Pokemon since they are strong against the fire type Pokemon, which is why he chose a water type Pokemon to counter them. This surprises Go. It is of course no surprise that Gary has such foresight, and that he basically uses Go as bait to manipulate Lyla and Shunya's choice of Pokemon. Also, Lyla and Shunya clearly dislike Go a lot, since they both chose a Pokemon that would allow them to defeat Go easily. But this ended up working against them since they focused too much on Go. Only one of them had to counter Go, while the other one should have thought of countering Gary. Lyla says that she can see why Gary is in rank 1, while Shunya says that he and Lyla did not come all the way here just to lose. They both then commanded their Pokemon to use Sand Tomb on Cinderace, who ends up trapped in a vortex of sand. But Blastoise uses Hydro Pump to wash the sand away, releasing Cinderace in the process. Go tries to thank Gary, but Gary says, "Thank me later." They are about to attack again. Both Sandaconda and Runerigus then use Bulldoze. Gary tells Go that Cinderace should jump onto Blastoise's back, and Go commands Cinderace to do this. This shows just how willing to cooperate Go is now, because before, he would adamantly refuse to follow Gary's commands. Once Cinderace is in position, Blastoise uses Water Pulse to launch itself upwards, dodging the double Bulldoze in the process. Lyla and Shunya are shocked by this maneuver. Now the double Bulldoze also launched the 2 water spheres created by Water Pulse into the air, and Cinderace uses Blaze Kick to launch the 2 spheres with some added flames towards Sandaconda and Runerigus, who are hit and knocked out. Shunya, however, refuses to give up, and he is about to send out his next Pokemon, but Lyla stops him. Shunya protests, but Lyla says a promise is a promise. If you won't keep your promise, then I will take you on. This keeps Shunya at bay. Man, Lyla really is such a badass. Also, this shows that Lyla is not completely ruthless and cold. She does have some principles. Also, it's quite the reversal that now Shunya is the one that is harsh, while Lyla is the more sensible one. Since in episode 110, Lyla was the more ruthless one, while Shunya was the more compassionate one. I guess that this is because different situations bring out different personality traits in people. Gary says to Lyla, "Nice sportsmanship, but that's not all, is it?" Lyla says, "Oh, so you saw right through me, huh?" Gary says that if he and Go fail to catch Regidrago and Regieleki, then it will be Lyla and Shunya's turn to try. Go says, of course, that means that Regieleki and Regidrago will be weakened. And Lyla adds, meaning that it will be easier for me and Shunya to catch them. This makes Shunya happy, who says, "As expected of Lyla, you are so sneaky." Yeah, this shows that Lyla really is and always has been evil. Her earlier bravado to stop Shunya was just to cover up her true intentions. Gary then walks away, while telling Lyla and Shunya not to get their hopes up. Gary and Go then jump into the final panels at the same time, while Lyla and Shunya watch. Once the final panels have been activated, the ruins shake, the eyes on the statues light up, the statues then explode, and the 2 titans soon emerge. This is the first time that Regidrago and Regieleki appear in the anime. This goes without saying, of course, but since they are the final 2 Pokemon making their first anime appearance in this episode, I want to say here that this episode fittingly marks the first appearance in the anime of several Generation 8 Pokemon, which is cool. Now Regieleki gets ready to use Discharge, and it is odd that this is what makes Go realize that this is Regieleki, while Gary realizes that the one he is facing is Regidrago by process of elimination. I just think that it is obvious which one is which just by looking at them, hence you don't need to see them do anything. So Gary tells Go to deal with Regieleki and they both send out their Pokemon. Gary decides to go with Hatterene, while Go chooses to use Flygon. These are great choices, since not only do they have a type advantage against the opposing Titan, but they are also immune to the opposing Titan's type. Gary once again says, "Don't let your guard down," and Go once again says, "Right back at you." The battle then begins, Regidrago starts off with its signature move, Dragon Energy. This shocks Shunya because he has no idea what this move is. Gary has Hatterene use Dazzling Gleam to shield itself from the attack. It is worth noting that this is exactly what Ash had Gengar do to block Gigantamax Grimmsnarl's G-Max Snooze back in episode 99. Considering that several people have seen Ash's battles on TV, via livestream, etc., and that Gary watched Go's previous mission, I think that it is very possible that Gary watched Ash's battle against Marnie, meaning that he saw this strategy in action. And he was like, that's a nice tactic. So he kept it in his back pocket until he needed it. Gary did use one of Ash's tactics back when they battled each other in the Johto League, meaning that Gary is no stranger to borrowing ideas from Ash. So Regieleki then bounces around while charging a sap cannon. Go comments that Regieleki is fast. Yeah, that's what 200 base speed looks like. Go then has Flygon counter sap cannon with Mud Shot, which causes an explosion. I guess that Go must be a fan of Mud Shot, considering that Inteleon revealed that it knows this move in episode 110, and it used said move a lot in that episode. Now Flygon also reveals that it knows Mud Shot. Go probably has the TM for Mud Shot. After these brief clashes, Regieleki and Regidrago switch targets. Regieleki uses its signature move, Thunder Cage, to hit Hatterene, who is shocked for a while and left stunned. While Regidrago uses Dragon Energy on Flygon, who counters with Dragon Breath. But Dragon Energy proves to be too powerful and it overpowers Dragon Breath, so Flygon is hit. Before their opponents can recover, Regidrago and Regieleki change targets again. Regidrago uses Hammer Arm to hit Hatterene, while Regieleki uses Extreme Speed to pommel Flygon. Hatterene and Flygon end up knocked out. Man, talk about a tag battle. It's cool that Regidrago and Regieleki are working together, covering for each other's weakness in the process and displaying a surprising level of intelligence. So Gary and Go withdraw and thank their Pokemon for their effort. With their backs to each other, Gary and Go decide that they need to work together, since their opponents are doing the same thing. This is a cool shot since it shows that Gary and Go are fully committed to cooperation. Gary and Go then send out their final Pokemon, which are of course Blastoise and Cinderace respectively. Cinderace then uses Pyro Ball on Regieleki while Blastoise uses Skull Bash on Regidrago. Both attacks find their mark, but the Titans refuse to back down. Regieleki quickly counters with Sap Cannon, which lands a direct hit on Cinderace, while Regidrago uses Twister, which threatens to sweep both Cinderace and Blastoise. But Shunya tells Gary to use the Twister, while Lyla tells Go to do what he did before to dodge the double bulldoze. Gary thanks Lyla and Shunya for their advice. He and Go then follow said advice. Blastoise uses Rapid Spin while Cinderace jumps onto Blastoise's back. Blastoise then uses the Twister to gain height. Once they go high enough, Cinderace takes advantage of its momentum to launch itself into a spinning Blaze Kick, while Blastoise uses its momentum to deliver a very powerful Rapid Spin. Both attacks land and the two Titans end up crashing into the wall. I have to say that I love this final combined attack. Seeing that their opponents are ripe for the picking, Gary and Go look at each other. They nod in agreement. They each throw a Pokeball at their respective Titan and their captures are both successful. So, Gary catches Regidrago and Go catches Regieleki. Going into this episode, I thought that Gary and Go would work together up until they had to face the Titans. They would then work separately and only one of them, namely Go, would complete the mission. I do prefer the way things actually ended up, since Gary and Go both completed the mission and they did so by working together until the end, showing that Go finally learned his lesson and that Gary was never against Go. He simply wanted Go to be better. Gary and Go then smile at each other when they realize that they succeeded. They are then approached by Lyla and Shunya, Lyla says that they lost and that they did nothing in the end. But Gary says that this is not true, that their advice was very helpful and that he is thankful to them. Gary then thanks Go as well, saying that he could not have succeeded without Go, that teamwork is what got them the win. I love that in the foreground, Cinderace and Blastoise are exhausted, but they soon smile at each other when Gary thanks Go. Gary then goes on to say that someone unskilled, who you just team up with for the sake of friendship, will let you down in the end. But someone that is on the same page as you is someone that you can successfully work with, even if they are your rival. Stubbornly clinging onto your pride will only slow you down. Working alone can be fatal. Gary then mentions that he learned this from Quillen. This makes Go recall what happened when he first met Quillen, that Quillen wanted to disqualify him from the get-go. Go realizes that Gary must have gone through something similar, and Gary confirms that this is the case, that he almost got himself disqualified, but he ended up learning from the experience. Go then says, "So that is why you kept goading me." But Gary says, "No, everything I did was for my own sake." Meaning that Gary only wanted it to ensure that Go would eventually be an asset. Though of course, Gary could just be playing it cool as usual. Go does smile, so he probably knows that Gary is likely just acting the part of the classic badass. The episode then cuts to the outside of the ruins, where Danica and Quillen await the return of Gary, Go, Lyla, and Shunya, who soon exit the ruins. Danica confirms here that the other mission is over as well, which is why she is here. So perhaps someone found the Swords of Justice. Quillen then sends out Regice, Regirock, and Registeel, while Gary and Go send out Regidrago and Regieleki. So all the Titans, minus their master Regigigas, have finally assembled. It is very cool to see them all together in the anime like this, and I love that 4 of them just stand there like the Titans they are, while Regieleki bounces around unable to sit still. Also, Brandon must be feeling a chill down his spine right about now. Now speaking of Regigigas, I did think here, what about Regigigas? They have all the other Titans. Are they not going to get Regigigas as well? So Quillen is surprised because Gary and Go caught both Titans. Danica is amazed when she sees Regidrago and Regieleki. Lyla comments that the legendary quintet is complete, while Shunya says that this is such a glorious sight. The eyes of the Titans then light up. They all start to glow and everything becomes dark. At this point, I knew what was coming. I was like, alright, here it comes, the Great Colossus. A pillar of light is then visible behind a nearby mountain. The pillar of light then becomes much bigger and from it, Regigigas emerges. And not just any Regigigas either. This is a Dynamaxed Regigigas. This leaves everyone in shock, and it gave me goosebumps. Such an epic sight to behold. Gary wonders if the other Titans called for Regigigas. After staring at its small audience for a brief moment, the Master of the Titans vanishes. The appearance of Dynamax Regigigas here is a reference to the fact that there is a hidden max raid battle against Regigigas in Sword and Shield. This battle can only be triggered when the other 5 Titans are brought to a specific raid den found fittingly in the Giant's bed. So good on them for this reference. After Regigigas vanishes, everyone receives a call from Professor Amaranth, who announces that the trial missions for Project Mew are now over. He thanks all the challengers that took part in the missions. He also says that he hopes that all the challengers will make good use of the lessons they learned from the missions, and that they will continue to investigate the mysteries of Pokemon. He then announces the results. First place is Gary with 15 tokens. Gary simply smiles here because he is obviously not surprised. Second place is Horace with 11 tokens. Since Horace had 8 tokens at the end of episode 110 and at the start of this episode, the fact that he ended up with 11 means that he completed the final mission. So maybe he caught one of the Swords of Justice, or he at least found one of them or even all 3 of them. Just as Professor Amaranth is about to reveal who ended up in 3rd place, while a worried Go just stands there waiting for the verdict, the episode cuts to Ash to keep us in unnecessary suspense. Ash, who has just finished an intense training session that left his Pokemon very exhausted, receives a call from Go, who reveals that he passed, which is of course not surprising whatsoever. I knew that Go, Gary, and Horace would all become chasers. Ash congratulates Go, who says that it's all because of Ash, though Ash says that it's all because of Go's hard work. After ending the call, Go is satisfied and relieved, but Gary says to Go, "You are merely standing at the starting line, so let's both do our best, Go." Go smiles and he offers to bump fists with Gary, who indulges Go, but Go pulls his fist away like, "Ha, you didn't actually think we would be friends just like that, right?" And Gary smiles like, "See, you're learning." The episode ends with a shot of everyone in Project Mew. The narrator says here, what sorts of adventures will Project Mew have in store for Go? I wondered this myself. So overall, I loved this episode, because Go finally showed some real courage and determination by deciding to face his final mission alone without Ash. Go also finally worked with Gary instead of selfishly choosing to work alone. He even went beyond a simple cooperation since he listened to what Gary was saying. He followed Gary's directions instead of disregarding and dismissing Gary. Go also talked and interacted with Gary in a friendly way, without sarcasm or disdain. So at long last, Go was finally mature, cool-headed, serious, rational, and smart. He showed that all of his past failures were not for naught. Even if they were not really failures, at least Go still learned from them. Gary and Go's cooperation really was an integral part of the success of this episode. Seeing them finally cooperate like friendly rivals instead of being at odds with each other the entire time was refreshing, and it made the episode flow so much better. The episode was much more enjoyable as a result. The action was more involved and more intense. The intellectual parts were more plausible since two people worked together to devise the plans and the solutions used. And the success of the mission was more believable, more deserved, because Gary and Go could not have succeeded without the others' help. Though it would have been nice to see Go admit this as graciously as Gary did. It was also nice to see Lyla and Shunya again. I love that while they started off as their usual nefarious, treacherous, and tricky selves, they did end up helping and supporting their rivals, showing that they aren't evil, it's just that they wanted to win at all cost. They have room for even more growth, so it's unfortunate that they did not become chasers, since we likely won't see them again. I also loved the battles in this episode. The battle between the challengers and the battle against the Titans were both cool and fun, even if they were short. Finally, it was great to see so many Generation 8 Pokemon make their first appearance in the anime. It was especially cool to see Regidrago and Regieleki, who were both awesome. Seeing them with the other Titans was also a treat, especially since they even gave us a brief glimpse of Regigigas, who might factor into Project Mew in the future. My only gripe with this episode is that, as usual, they tried to cram way too much into one episode, and this time, they even wasted 22 seconds needlessly. So the pacing was a bit too fast, especially towards the end. Though this is probably one of the better paced episodes, all things considered. Still, it's always a shame to see pacing detract from an episode. Regardless, this was a great episode and an awesome way to end the trial missions of Project Mew. I cannot wait to see what Project Mew will bring to the table now. But that's the video. As always, leave your own thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and would like to see more like it, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I love Pokemon and I love making videos on both the anime and the games. Also, please consider clicking the links on screen so that you can check out more videos like this right away. Thank you very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.